Okay, so I'm making this video to talk about my day at work. All right, so I'm working. I'm at the little register, and this girl who just always is breathing on my neck at work, like micromanaging me and shit. Well, she's gotten better in the most recent time. But anyway, she comes up next to me in a register next to me and asks, like, tilts her head, smirks a little bit, and asks, "So, what's your real name?" And I'm like, did you really just ask me that? Like, I was kind of in shock for like point 0.2 seconds because no one is really supposed to ask that. Like, no matter how dumb you are and how uninformed you are, I'm sorry. So, anyway, she says this thing, and then I just kind of stare at her, and I'm like, my real name is Mee-Han. And then she's like, no, but what's your real name? And I'm like, my real name is Mee-Han. Do you mean my legal name? And then she was like, yeah, like, what's your legal name? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. Like, that's the whole point of me using a different name is that I don't want you to know. I don't want people to know. I don't want people to associate me with that name at all because it's very girly. Um, and it's not gender neutral at all. Anyways, she was like, "Oh, I won't tell anyone. Like, I won't tell." And I was like, "Yeah, I know you won't tell, but I don't want you to know either because I know you're going to associate that name with me after I tell you what it is." And then she was like, "But I want to. Can I guess? Can I guess?" I'm like trying to guess it and shit. And I was like, "Really? Like, can she see that this is not okay? Like, why doesn't she get it?" So at this point, I thought she was just fucking with me. Fucking with me. Anyway, there's this other person at our work who isn't trans or anything, but she goes by a different name, and her name is Jay. That's her fucking name, and the name that she goes by. Anyways, um, anyways, so this girl asks her, "So what's your legal name? Like, what's your real name?" And she uses the word "real name" again. And then Jay's like kind of puzzled and stuff, like not wanting to tell. Anyway, they start to guess names, and then they finally like guess her name and fucking like call her by that name. And I'm just like, wow, these people were so inconsiderate. Right? By this time, it's not just Bianca. It's like this other guy I work with, who's like doing it too. Anyway, they're just like kind of like making fun of the whole thing, like having a different name than what's on your birth certificate, shit, and making fun of it. So anyway, I was just like really mad, and also I had to like help customers as this was going on, so I couldn't show it too much. But when everybody cleared out, Bianca asked me again, like, "Oh, like, can I know your name?" And I was just like, "No, like, there's a reason why. Like, and it's disrespectful of you to ask that because it's it's just like if I wanted you to know, I would say, "Oh, this is my real name, but you can call me this as a nickname. Like, Mee-Han would be my nickname, right?" Anyways, she was like, "Okay, whatever." And I can't, but yeah, so this was happening, and then I think one of the guys that I work with was like saying, "Oh, like I don't understand. It's just a word. Like why can't I use it? Or why would that make you feel uncomfortable? It's just a word." And I'm like, "Well, look at it this way. If I called you Lucy every fucking day, how would you feel about that?" And then he did that thing where like that stupid thing people do where they're like, "Oh, like I wouldn't mind it." It's like, bitch, heifer, like you would mind it. Like you would mind if I called you by like a girl name all the time and didn't respect your actual name. Like you would hate that, and you would hate that. Anybody would hate that, right? Because that's not you. That's not who you. That's not the name that you identify with. Anyways, that was that, and after that, I just kind of like let it go because I was almost off work, so I just didn't even. I just worked up my hour that I had left and said deuces, and I wasn't like sour about it. But if it happens tomorrow, or if it continues to happen, I'm gonna have to speak up and tell somebody about it because that shit pissed me off. Anyways, just had to blog about that.